10-year audit was just completed a few years ago, where the oceans were audited. And the audit results showed that 70% of the creatures that are in the oceans are not yet known. Right now, 70% not yet known to human beings. After a 10-year audit of the oceans, my dear brothers and sisters, and then God gave us the moon, that satellite. I used to like playing at my grandmother's house. Her house faced away from the east, it faced westward. So in the morning, I would sit right in front with the door open into that hut. And then I would have a mirror or two, small pieces of mirrors in my hands. And I liked reflecting that light that is coming from behind that, illuminating or brightening up the inside of the house from where I was sitting outside. And exactly the same thing that God did, or I was doing exactly the same thing that God did. And so God didn't get the idea from me with my little mirrors. No, it was already there. But later when I realized, oh, okay, this is what God also did. What God actually, not also, but what God did. When he made the moon and put it 380,000 kilometers away from us. And then something interesting about the moon, of course, it controls our tides in the oceans. You have oceans here, and so the two of them, okay? We don't even have one. Maybe perhaps we have to enter into some discussions so that you could donate one of the oceans, also to Zimbabwe. The first time I saw an ocean was in Cape Town, not too long ago. I said, and the following day, I couldn't wait. I told my, please, let's go back again to the sea point. I want to see if the water is still there. There was so much water yesterday. I just couldn't get used to seeing. And the other time we missed a plane in Durban playing in the Indian Ocean. But they were gracious, the people. They were gracious. They put us on another flight. But I was just so fascinated by this. But when you look at the moon, there are some very interesting things. Because, of course, it controls the tides in the oceans. The rising and falling of the tides is controlled by the gravity of the moon. And then, in addition to that, so the moon does not produce light. It only reflects light from the sun and redirects it to Earth when we need light here. And then the moon is also synchronized with the movements of the Earth in a very delicate way, which is known as tidal locking. What that means is the moon rotates on its axis in exactly the same amount of time that it takes to revolve around Earth. What that results in, we can only always see one side of the moon. We will never see the other side. Some people say men are like that until you get married. That's when you see the other side. I don't know if it's true, but someone said that. They drew a lesson of that. But this is amazing. What God created, and then would come to Mars, and then from Mars would get to Jupiter. But between Mars and Jupiter, there is a belt, a large area. There's a great distance there. A large area of asteroids. These are rocks, some of them bigger than this hole, that are just whizzing through space at terrific speeds. Some of them up to about 70 kilometers per second. And mind you, by the way, Earth moves around the sun at 30 kilometers per second. Earth moves around sun, but it takes 365 days to complete one orbit at that speed. If you think your car moves, you may need to think again. 30 km per second. Since we started this presentation, we have moved many, many kilometers already. Many km. And so, between Mars and Jupiter, we have a large belt where we have asteroids, these huge rocks, very huge. And some of them, time and again, do get close to our orbit or orbit of the planet Earth. And when they do, they cross in our atmosphere. And sometimes we see them as, and we call them shooting stars. Where I grew up, they used to say, where that star went, that's where your wife will come from. But over the years, you see them going in all directions. Maybe that's why some people get confused and end up with so many, because they want to be faithful to all the stars that have gone in all directions. But those stars have nothing to do with stars. Those are rocks. Bazalwane. When you think about that, there is something so amazing, because atmosphere, this envelope of odorless gases that totally surrounds planet Earth for 1,000 kilometers, whatever direction you may take. Okay? Atmosphere is in its different zonations, different layers, are isolated by isothermal layers, like the tropopause, the mesopause, and things like that. Not monopause, not menopause, mesopause. These isothermal layers, where temperature doesn't change without any change in altitude. Now, and that's where in one of the layers, that's where we also have the gas ozone, which traps ultraviolet rays so that we don't get those harmful effects right here. And in those layers, right in atmosphere, when these rocks come in flying at those high speeds, God just says, no, be careful, they are my children down there, okay? Mr. Rock, just be careful where you're going. Because, Bazalwane, these rocks, they fall, thousands of them fall on earth every year. Thousands. Thousands. But since record keeping started, not a single aeroplane, not a car, not a cow, not a cat, not even a house, no one has ever been hit by any of these rocks. No one. Even though we've huge built up areas like Joburg and everything like that, not a single person we have been hit by cars, we have been hit by things made by humans, but never by any of these rocks. And beyond atmosphere, there's another layer of grace that surrounds this planet. There is no astronomer living today who has been able to explain why. No astronomer has been able to explain why we are not hit by these rocks. One fell in Russia about 4 months ago. One fell in Russia. And you know, that thing, it was so cold in that it exploded at 7 meters above Earth. It exploded and shattered windows. I think God said, oh, you have gone too far. Okay, just hold it there. And it exploded, that rock, fell into the snow. And it was so hot. I was in the whole of March, I was in Romania. Very cold. But it made that whole place almost melt with the fervence of its heat. So hot, but not a person has ever been hit by any of these things. They fall into oceans, but they never hit ships that are sailing. They fall into deserts, but not even camels that are moving. They never. There is a God who directs and manages the affairs of this world. He is in control. God is in charge. And that same God wants to control your life. If he controls these mad rocks that are moving at breakneck speeds, can't you trust him with your life? Oh, my dear brothers and sisters, when you look at this, Jupiter, all planets, 318 times bigger than Earth, with so many moons, at least 18, we have just one moon in the sky. Jupiter is at least 18 moons, and they're moving in all directions. Some of them come from the west, and this has confounded evolutionists. They cannot explain these motions. They can't. They can't. Why are they moving in all directions? God did it deliberately to show that I'm in charge. I created this. If you may you solve this riddle. It cannot be solved using the evolution model of origins. My dear brothers and sisters, I mean, senseless it is and counterintuitive when people say that one day, before days were there, in a certain place, before space was there, something, before things were there, got together, and it became so hot, this thing which was actually nothing, then it exploded and became everything. That's why we're here today. What is that? You can't even convince a single demon to believe in evolution. Not even one. The Bible will guarantee you that. The demons believe that God is there and they tremble. They know he's there. Not a single demon will ever believe. in evolution. God is in charge. God is in control. My dear brothers and sisters, God made this world. He owns it. It is his. Now you will see there in the, what would be your right hand corner, right at the bottom, this is the planet Jupiter, and then the planet Earth in comparison. Earth is 318 times smaller than Jupiter. And then you would come to Uranus and Neptune because of the ethane in the gas methane. That is what gives that color blue. And then you'd come to Saturn. Oh, this beautiful planet. Just hanging out there in space. Galileo Galilei was the first person to see these rings. And he thought the planet had handles. He couldn't understand this. But these rings stretch for over 100,000 kilometers. And they are about 10 kilometers thick. And they are revolving. There are 3 of them, a wheel within a wheel within a wheel. And they are in motion around the equator of the planet. And God says, can you explain that? Not a single scientist has been able to explain the mystery of these rings. And then what I really want us to zero in on is the sizes of these things, because we need to be able to approximate. Of course, we'll never be able to actually conceptualize how great God is. However big God is in your mind, that's exactly what he is not. Yeah. If you have thought it, you can be sure that's exactly what he is not. Yeah. Because he's beyond what you can grasp. Whatever you have thought, that's exactly what he is not. He is the other. Yeah. But as you move to the other, that's what he is not also. You can never. And so God says, who do you think? And what do you mean, Israel, when you say, I'm overwhelmed by challenges? Yeah. Do you know who you're talking to? And God brings out his CV. And he says, may you look at the things that have been created. My dear brothers and sisters, if you are to look at comparative sizes, look at these planets. You see planet Earth there, in the blue one, and then right by the side, you see also Venus, and the red one is Mars. And then you see those planets. And then we move now. And we bring in the other planets. The giants. Now, what we see here, because I'm not able to point there. What we see, this is Jupiter. And then this is Earth. This is not this one. This one. That is Earth. When we bring the giant planets. Okay? And so, but this Jupiter is not the largest thing, because all these planets are controlled by the sun. The sun is the largest single object in the solar system. If you were to take the whole solar system and put it on a giant cosmic scale to weigh how much it weighs, the whole thing, and supposing that it would total to 100 kgs, more than 99% of that weight is the sun alone. More than 99% of the 100 kgs. More than 99 kgs is the sun alone. All these planets constitute less than 1% of the mass of the solar system. Earth included, with you on that Earth. Your house, your car, together, your boss at work, everyone. With you on that planet. Less than one. The sun is so huge. It is a massive, you wouldn't want to visit the sun. You would just evaporate, never to condense again. So hot on the surface, which is known as the photosphere. It's about 6,000 degrees Celsius on the surface. But right inside, it's between 14 and 15 million degrees Celsius. At that temperature, if you're to take just something this size of the tip of your pen, temperature, you drop it here and you put firewood 100 kilometers away, that firewood will burn 100 kilometers away at that temperature from something that small. The sun is so powerful, it's gravitational force, and then the sun is 1.3 million times larger than Earth. 1.3 million times larger than Earth, and that's why we are this far. Otherwise we'd just be roasted. We are 150 million Ks away from the sun. And the sun produces uses up 4 million tons of fuel per second. 4 million tons I know South African minds are not used to millions. Ask us Zimbabweans. They are still trying to think, what is a million? 4 million tons of fuel per second. We are not saying from the day you were born. No, even for thousands of years before you were there, every second. But even at that rate, even evolutionists admit that even at that rate, the sun still has enough fuel for 5 billion years. 5 million per second. You struggle to pay ESCOM. You struggle to pay ESCOM. And then, in addition to that, to just fuel your car is a problem. Many cars, particularly in my country, always running on E. Many cars. Get to the station, put 5 liters, then, oh, how far is it down the gauge? Okay, it's okay, there's still fuel, but it's on E. It's still okay, we can go to town and come back. And there's load shedding, for example, in my country. Load shedding, and in many other African countries. Because the authorities are trying to balance things out. There's never load shedding in the sky. You never see one portion of the sky switched off and another switched off. No! My God can sponsor it all.